There's a moment in history where a single lie became legend, not because it was believable, but because it was beautiful. It sounded like glory, it looked like triumph, and it felt like destiny. That lie came from one man, Napoleon Bonaparte, and the world still hasn't recovered. Let me take you back to December 2nd, 1805, the Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon's most famous victory, the Battle of the Three Emperors, Russia, Austria, France, clashing in snow and fog. By the end of the day, Napoleon had crushed two empires with a single blow, or so he claimed. The truth? It was a victory, but it wasn't clean, and it wasn't the miracle he told the world it was. Here's what really happened. Napoleon's army was outnumbered, his men were exhausted, and his position on paper looked suicidal. But Napoleon played a trick. He deliberately weakened his right flank, inviting the enemy to attack it. And when they did, he struck the center hard. It worked. The Austrians and Russians were forced into retreat. But here's the part history classes skip. Napoleon immediately sent out Bulletin number 21, a glowing, poetic account of the greatest military triumph in modern history. It said the enemy was utterly destroyed. It said French losses were minimal. It said the army cheered, sang, and thanked their emperor. All lies. The French had lost over 8,000 men, dead or wounded. Entire regiments were shattered. The battlefield was a frozen graveyard. But the bulletin? It read like a victory parade. No pain, no mud, no blood. Just glory. Why? Because Napoleon knew something most leaders never understand. People don't remember reality. They remember the version you give them first. He didn't just win a battle. He won the narrative. And once he controlled that, everything else, facts, numbers, bodies, became irrelevant. Sound familiar? Fast forward 2 centuries. A man stands at a podium in Washington, D.C. It's the day after an election. He didn't win, but he says he did. He says it wasn't a loss. It was a theft, a fraud, a lie. And millions believe him. His name? Donald J. Trump. And whether you love him or hate him, he did what Napoleon did. He rewrote reality. Not by changing votes, but by changing the story. Just like Napoleon's bulletins, Trump's tweets weren't just messages, they were weapons. And they were launched at full speed before facts could catch up. Because that's the secret. The first story always wins. Before independent reports could arrive, Napoleon had already published his version. Before election officials could verify, Trump had already tweeted his. And once the audience accepts your story, they will defend it more fiercely than you ever could. Napoleon's lie lived on for decades. He became a myth, a god of war, the man who never lost, except when betrayed. Trump's version of events? Still echoed in rallies, protests, and hashtags. But here's where it gets dark. Napoleon didn't just lie for applause. He lied to keep fighting. Each glorious bulletin justified another war. Each minimal loss made the next battle easier to sell. And so he marched on, across Europe, into Russia, into ruin. All because a lie was too beautiful to stop believing. Trump's lie? It didn't launch armies, but it did divide a nation. And it showed us something terrifying. Facts are fragile, but belief is bulletproof. Once you believe someone is a savior, every lie becomes a test of loyalty. Once you believe you're part of something historic, you'll ignore the mud, the blood, the loss. You'll believe the bulletin, even when you're standing in the battlefield. So, what was Napoleon's greatest lie? That Austerlitz was perfect, that war was glorious, that he could lead France to eternal victory without cost. And millions believed it, still do. Statues were built, books were written. Children were named after him. His face on coins, his name on streets, his myth on fire. All built on the foundation of a beautifully crafted lie. And Trump? His greatest lie wasn't about an election. It was about himself. That he alone could fix everything. That he never truly lost. That the truth didn't matter. Only the story did. And millions still believe that too. So here's the question no one wants to ask. If a lie creates unity, if it brings hope, if it gives people identity, does it stop being a lie? Or worse, does it become truth? Napoleon understood that history is not written by the victors. It's written by the best storytellers. Trump understood that too. And in their stories, truth was never the goal. Control was. Because the man who controls the first version of the story controls the version we remember. And if no one questions it, then maybe the greatest lie was letting us believe we ever knew the truth at all.